Michael, good to be with you.
You've been in Santa Fe recently. What did you walk away from there on a personal level with?
Just the unspeakable horror of it. I spent all day Friday, the day of the shooting, in Santa Fe. I was at home when it happened, and so drove down there and was with first responders and teachers and school officials and students and parents. And it's every parent's nightmare. It truly was horrific. The agony, the grief, people just wondering why, and there's no good explanation for the evil that we saw Friday morning. For someone who goes, I understand that he's angry, I understand that he's lonely, but to go and murder 10 people, 8 students, and 2 teachers, and to wound an additional 13 is a manifestation of evil. But, I want to, at the same time, relay that as horrific as that is, we also saw incredible bravery. We saw courage, first responders, teachers, police officers rushing into harm's way, risking their lives, and tragically sacrificing their lives to save the students. And we saw love, we saw compassion. That community, Santa Fe is a small community. And in the hours and days since that shooting, even in the face of unimaginable grief, we've also seen that community coming together and leaning on each other. And that's how they're going to make it through this.
Well, it's interesting that the worst things have to happen for us to see the best in our community. It really is. Senator, can you hold with me for just a moment? We're up against a break. We'll be right back. Senator Ted Cruz is our guest. Coming up. All right. Senator, before we get to this anti-harassment bill, new developments today regarding North Korea and the summit, Kim Jong-un backing out, or president backing out, and that repartee continues. Your thought on where we are there?
Well, I think nobody should be surprised to see the president canceling the summit based on the aggressiveness, the deception, the hostility from Kim Jong-un, because we've seen that pattern from Kim Jong-un for many, many years. We saw it with his father before him. And so there were a lot of folks when the summit was initially scheduled who were celebrating and saying this is an enormous breakthrough. I have to confess I was always skeptical then, because Kim has shown himself repeatedly to be a liar, to make promises and break them. But I do think, going forward, what we have seen is that the right way to deal with a bully and a dictator like Kim Jong-un is from a position of strength. And I think that's what President Trump has been doing, and it works much, much better than does weakness and appeasement, which was the pattern for 8 years under Barack Obama.
The European Union has made an overture to Iran. They want to keep Iran in the deal they formed, even without American involvement at this point. And that's, again, a negotiating strategy. Iran coming out this week with, I think, their list of 7 items that need to be met in order to stay in the deal. Where are you on what the president has done with regard to that as of today?
Well, I think that what the president did pulling out of the Iran deal was exactly the right thing to do. It was something that I had been urging him to do from the very first day he was sworn into office. And for a year and a half, there was a vigorous debate within the Trump administration about whether to do so. And you had the State Department and the Defense Department both arguing to stay in the deal. And I and a number of other people were vigorously arguing on the other side. I think the president did the right thing. The Obama-Iran nuclear deal was nothing short of catastrophic. It sent billions of dollars to the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. That money, in turn, was used to fund terrorists trying to murder Americans, trying to murder Israelis. And as Prime Minister Netanyahu revealed just a few weeks ago, unveiling a stunning intelligence operation carried out by the Israeli intelligence, by the Mossad, where they captured over 100,000 secret documents from Iran, demonstrating that Iran has been lying over and over and over again, and for over 20 years it has been aggressively pursuing a clandestine program to develop nuclear weapons, and that the entire Obama nuclear deal was based on an edifice of lies. And that made clear the right thing to do is what President Trump did: pull out of the deal, reimpose crushing sanctions on Iran, urge our allies to do the same. Michael, I was with the president in the Oval Office about a half hour before he gave the speech, formally pulling out of the Iran deal, and I was working with him and John Bolton on putting the finishing touches on the speech, and it was the right thing to do, and I commend the president for standing up and having the courage to defend our national security.
On the domestic front, it appears New York authorities are getting ready to close in on Harvey Weinstein. The names Patrick Meehan, Blake Farenthold, Trent Franks, John Conyers, Tim Murphy, of course, Al Franken. There have been some sexual harassment scandals even within Congress, and an odd pairing. You signing on to a bill authored by Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat from New York, is an odd pairing on an important issue. Tell me about that.
Well, Kirsten Gillibrand, who is a liberal Democrat from New York, she and I disagree on a great many issues, but we've worked together closely on issues concerning sexual assault and sexual harassment, going back many years, where Kirsten has been leading the fight to address sexual assault in the military, a far too pervasive problem, and she's been focused on changing the way sexual assault is handled in the military so that it is career professional military prosecutors making the charging decisions rather than leaving it with a commanding officer. I've worked very, very closely with Kirsten. I think that's the right thing to do. And we've seen, as you noted, in recent weeks and recent months, this incredible, dismaying pattern of sexual harassment, sexual assault, of powerful men abusing their positions. We've seen it in Hollywood. We've seen it in journalism. We've seen it in business, and we've seen it in the halls of Congress. And it is wrong. Harassment is wrong. Every woman, every man has a right to be treated with dignity, with respect in the workplace. You have a right not to be harassed and assaulted by your boss. And sadly, we also discovered a pattern of secret taxpayer-funded settlements for members of Congress accused of harassment or assault. That is completely unacceptable, and so Kirsten and I joined forces in drafting legislation to end that, to end the secret taxpayer settlements, to say that if a member of Congress commits harassment, you should be personally liable. It should come out of your pocket, and the presumption should be that it should be public. I think the victim has a right. If the victim wants to keep it confidential, the victim can, but the presumption should be that if someone has committed wrongdoing, there needs to be transparency. And just this week, the Senate took up bipartisan legislation to change the rules to end the secret taxpayer settlements, and I think that was the right thing to do, and I'm glad to see the Senate finally moving on it.
Senator, 2 questions, 2 minutes, so I'm going to be quick on that. One, what's it going to take to repeal Obamacare?
It's going to take a larger majority in the Senate. We right now don't have 50 in the Senate. Who will vote to do it. As you know, we tried last year twice. I put in thousands of hours working to try to bring Republicans together to get us to yes, and twice we came 1 vote short. Now, sadly, it's gotten a little bit worse because then we had 52 Republicans. Now we have just 51 after Alabama. It's going to take growing our majority, which I hope we will do in 2018. And in the interim, we need to do everything possible to undermine the aspects of Obamacare that are hurting so many millions of Texans. We need to give consumers more choices, more competition, more option, more freedom, and all of that will lower premiums and make health care more accessible.
Last question, Senator Ted Cruz. Robert Mueller asking for a delay in the Russian collusion case. In terms of what you're being briefed on and where you think we are in this thing, is this what we're going to have a perpetual investigation?
Well, I think there's a very real danger of that, and that's one of the reasons why special counsels and independent counsels have such a checkered past, and because they are so given to abuse of power. Almost inevitably, what ends up happening is if someone gets appointed a special counsel or an independent counsel, they become like Javert from Les Mis. They become on a crusade. And, you think about it, Michael, if you're an ordinary prosecutor, you're in a DA's office or U.S. Attorney's office, if there's a crime, you investigate the crime. If there's a murder, you got a dead body, you're trying to find out who did it. If you're a special prosecutor or an independent counsel, you're assigned to prosecute a person. And just about anyone, if you unleash a dozen aggressive prosecutors, you can find something to go after them on. And that's the reason why both parties in Congress allowed the independent counsel statute to expire, because it had been so given to abuse.
And I'm very concerned that we're seeing that again with Bob Mueller.
I agree. Senator Ted Cruz, thank you.
Thank you, my friend.